October 2013 in the Atlantic Basin this afternoon. Not much going on at all, which has been the case for pretty much the entire season, but we do have this area of orange, 50% chance of development from Invest Area 98L. Just going by the satellite picture here on the graphical tropical weather outlook, you can see it's not very well organized. Now let's switch over to the Atlantic Basin visible animation here, the satellite loop. And I think the first thing you'll notice is with this system, look how the clouds are streaking off in one direction here. They're not really fanning out in a clockwise fashion, but more being pushed off from southwest to northeast, generally speaking. Pretty good rotation, vorticity spin with the system, but really struggling with this southwesterly shear. The atmosphere just not conducive, something, quote, wrong with the Atlantic, which of course that translates to yay for people who live along the coast. No worries about hurricanes, tropical storms. Even this time last week, as Karen moved up here, looking like it would threaten the Gulf Coast, it weakened and dissipated in this region. Can't even get a landfall in the almost landlocked Gulf of Mexico. You know something's definitely going on very different from what we're used to in this active period of the Atlantic Basin's hurricane cycle. Really nothing to worry about over the next week to 10 days, even if this does develop, and it may still become a depression or a weak tropical storm for a day or two. It'll likely move on to the west and then eventually turn out to sea, and these westerly winds up here will be waiting for it to do it in once and for all. Going to the Hurricane Center's homepage again in the eastern Pacific, Invest Area 94E has weakened, no longer really expected to do much. It could still become a tropical depression, but the moisture from it, all the energy over here broad and spread out, so really not much concern from this at all. What is of concern is what we have going on over here in the Pacific and the Bay of Bengal, the Western Pacific and the Bay of Bengal here just to the east of India. We have 2 typhoons and then 1 cyclone, and they're all almost on the same latitude in the tropics. That's pretty remarkable in and of itself. Now, it is still very much the northern hemisphere cyclone season, and remember that everything we see out here, all these different storms, if this would develop, we just had a tropical storm out here in the Pacific. They're all tropical cyclones, just like a dog is a canine. That's what we call a dog. But there's different terms that are given in different parts of the world for the exact same weather phenomenon. So a cyclone in the Bay of Bengal is the same thing as a hurricane would be in the Atlantic. We just call them hurricanes, and interests here in the Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh and that region, the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal, they refer to them as cyclones. And then here off in the Western Pacific, they are referred to as typhoons. Speaking of which, let's take a look at Typhoon Nari, I think that's how you say it, impacting northern Philippines here. Then it'll be heading almost straight into Vietnam. All the mountainous terrain in here, you can expect a lot of rainfall, flooding, mudslides, you name it. I believe that Manila is located in here, so at least this typhoon went north of Manila, a big population center. Then we have a tropical storm, a typhoon, just not quite a very strong typhoon yet. And this one's going to be curving up towards Japan. That's off the chart here. This will recurve like we would have a recurving tropical storm or hurricane off the southeast U.S. coast. And as I broaden the shot here, the track is supposed to be something like this, where it just misses the southeast coast of Japan in the coming days. But the most menacing of the tropical cyclones today is Cyclone Palin. Excuse me. And my throat's still trying to cause me problems here. In the Bay of Bengal, this is closing in pretty quickly on northeastern parts of the Indian coastline. Now, this is Bangladesh up here, where some of the worst weather disasters in human history have taken place when you get these cyclones to come north, and they bring with them just an epic storm surge, 30 40 feet in height. The water just rushes in, flooding literally millions of people, and in some cases hundreds of thousands have been lost to the storm surge. Now, in this case, with this particular cyclone, and it's pronounced Palin, I believe, or Palin, it's spelled P-H-A-I-L-I-N, and you'd think it would be Phelan, but it's the P-H-I is pronounced P-A-Y. So Palin, or Palin, heading into India here. There's a river delta right close to where it's supposed to make landfall. I don't remember the name of it or how to pronounce it, but this will produce a pretty good surge. You notice the shape of the coastline right here has just a little bit of a concave shape. So this will really pile up the water, similar to if we had a strong hurricane coming into, let's say, the panhandle of Florida, or the coast of South Carolina, where the coast curves in just a little bit. And it is expected to be 130 knots, or about 150 miles per hour, at landfall. If we look at the infrared satellite picture of it, very small pinhole eye, very, very cold cloud tops here, strong cyclone right now, winds at 140 knots, or about 160 miles per hour. We will certainly hope and pray for the people there that they get out of the way, use their common sense, that the government will do all they can to evacuate folks in harm's way, as this looks like it could be a devastating cyclone for India. But I guess the good news here, at least a little bit, is that it is not going into the Ganges River Delta, where Bangladesh is, where you could get just unfathomable amount of human loss, loss of human life, what I'm trying to say. And you always try to look for the silver lining with these things, especially when something so frightening as a Category 5 equivalent tropical cyclone is headed for an area that has such high storm surge risk. So we'll be monitoring this very closely. I will talk about it again on tomorrow's update. All right, well, that is it for me for today. Nothing else really going on. Atlantic Basin staying quiet, so that'll be great news. But we'll watch those typhoons and the cyclone in the Bay of Bengal and update you on that over the weekend. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and of course, Hurricane Pro and HD. Always glad to produce these videos for you to enjoy and hopefully learn from. I'll be back throughout the weekend with more.